You might assume that after several cycles spent in the diplomatic corps, nothing could genuinely astonish me. I had already navigated through the CNAC hive mind, where conversations felt more like mental invasions filled with existential dread. I had mediated territorial disputes with a methane-breathing species that considered a stomachache a profound compliment. I thought I had witnessed it all until I received the notification about Earth, the so-called Death World. I hissed at my communicator, my 6 eyes twitching with annoyance. Honestly, another exaggerated report from the melodramatic V. Laxon, I mused. Surely, it was merely a case of some stormy weather or a mildly venomous insect species. Yet, as the data packet materialized, my multiple hearts, yes, we Zeans have 3, began to race. The report was exhaustive, compiled by several credible sources, including the notoriously cautious Xyloni, who were not known for their hyperbole. What they described about Earth made even a black hole seem like a minor cosmic inconvenience. The humans, the dominant species of this planet, had an odd obsession with activities that invited disaster. Their environment was a chaotic amalgamation of extreme weather, geological upheaval, and predators that could have sprung from a nightmare simulation. Strangely, these humans not only survived but actively pursued additional peril. My mandibles clicked in nervousness. Why did I always get the most bizarre assignments? Then, I was paired with a Vection named TRX. Vections, with their 12 eyes and unnervingly wide grins filled with far too many teeth, have a relentless thirst for excitement. To them, this Earth report was nothing short of exhilarating. "This is going to be glorious," TRX bellowed, shaking my cubicle with vibrations that threatened to dislodge my scales. By the time we boarded the transport ship, I found myself contemplating a sudden illness, perhaps a contagious molting. I envisioned a peaceful few weeks in quarantine, snug in my chambers. But duty called, and a Ziltrian diplomat never shirks from responsibility, no matter how horrifying the circumstances. The journey lasted a mere 2 standard cycles, a blink in the grand scheme of galactic travel. As Earth drew closer, I couldn't help but marvel at its appearance. It looked ordinary, with lush green continents, swirling blue oceans, and wispy clouds in an otherwise clear atmosphere. If not for the report, I might have thought we were simply visiting a promising young civilization in need of gentle guidance. "Prepare for atmospheric entry," the pilot's voice echoed through the ship. "Brace yourselves, diplomats, it may get a bit rough." Rough turned out to be an understatement. As we pierced the upper layers of Earth's atmosphere, the ship felt like it was being tossed about by an irate cosmic giant. The lights flickered, consoles sparked, and I swear TRX let out a whoop of pure glee. "Just a bit of turbulence," he roared over the chaos. "These humans really know how to give a warm welcome." I pressed myself against the nearest wall, squeezing my eyes shut. This turbulence was not just a little bump, it was a full-blown atmospheric assault. The fact that humans willingly subjected themselves to this kind of experience during what they called air travel was utterly mind-boggling. By the time we landed, I was a quivering mass of nerves. We disembarked onto a vast paved expanse, surrounded by towering metal structures. TRX bounded down the ramp, while I moved cautiously, my hearts pounding loudly enough to disrupt inner communication channels. Our human welcoming committee consisted of 2 individuals, a tall one with vibrant red hair and a shorter, stocky one with a grin that gleamed like TRX's. "Welcome to Earth," announced the tall one, her voice booming despite her small stature. "I'm Commander Harris, and this is Dr. Patel. We'll be your guides during your stay." "Guides?" I managed to rasp, my voice barely audible. "You mean guardians?" Harris chuckled, a deep rumbling sound that sent shivers down my spines. "Nah, we're just here to show you around and keep you out of too much trouble." "Too much trouble?" My gut instinct told me that trouble was the primary ingredient in human hospitality. Our first destination was something called a city. Apparently, this was where humans gathered in vast numbers. As our shuttle zipped toward this urban monstrosity, TRX pressed against the viewport, his 12 eyes sparkling with excitement. I focused on the rising nausea in my thorax and tried not to contemplate the odds of being crushed by panicking crowds. The city was a chaotic symphony of sights, sounds, and scents that assaulted my senses. Metal behemoths hurtled along designated pathways at alarming speeds, horns blaring a cacophony that could awaken ancestral spirits. Towering structures pierced the sky, packed with countless tiny human dwellings, while the streets overflowed with throngs of humans flowing like a relentless river. "This is incredible," TRX bellowed, nearly dislocating his jaw with the force of his grin. "The sheer energy. The potential for disaster." I muttered under my breath. My warning was drowned out by an ear-splitting screech as one metal behemoth narrowly avoided another. Humans inside these contraptions exchanged gestures that I could only assume were insults. Commander Harris, seemingly unfazed by the chaos, pointed to a small open space teeming with humans. "Why don't we grab something to eat? There's a popular food market nearby." "Popular?" TRX and I echoed in unison. "You'll see," Dr. Patel said, his grin taking on a mysterious quality. With a deep breath that I feared might be my last, I followed them into the throng. The food market was an assault on every sense I possessed. The scent of sizzling meats, exotic spices, and substances I couldn't identify mingled in a thick, dizzying cloud. Human voices clashed with rhythmic music, creating an atmosphere that made my exoskeleton itch. Everywhere I looked, there was a flurry of activity, humans jostling, arguing, laughing, and seeming on the verge of physical confrontation, only to share food and loud jokes the next moment. "Here we are," Commander Harris announced, gesturing toward a collection of stalls overflowing with colorful, unidentifiable foodstuffs. TRX was already sniffing the air, his multiple nostrils flaring with excitement. "What is that glorious smell?" "These are tacos," Patel explained, picking up a flatbread concoction filled with meat, strange green filaments, and a fiery red sauce. "It's a local delicacy." Without hesitation, TRX grabbed 3 and began devouring them with gusto. "Magnificent. The flavors. The textures. This is culinary warfare." I eyed the remaining tacos with dread. As a ZIL DXY, my digestive system was accustomed to a simple, largely algae-based diet. Spicy, greasy, and wholly unknown food screamed imminent gastrointestinal distress. Noticing my hesitation, Harris chuckled. "Don't worry, we have milder options. There's something for every dietary preference here, a testament to the chaotic ingenuity of this place." "Chaotic ingenuity?" I repeated weakly, unsure if it was a compliment or a dire warning. Under Harrison Patel's watchful eyes, I tentatively selected a foodstuff that appeared relatively harmless, a long pale object encased in soft bread. My first bite was a cautious nibble, and surprisingly, sweetness exploded in my mouth, followed by a wave of something tart and fruity. It was unexpectedly pleasant. "Oh, that's just a hot dog," Harris said casually. "It's an Earth classic." As I finished my hot dog, bewildered fascination began to war with my natural apprehension. Human existence seemed to be a perplexing blend of absurdity and ingenuity. TRX, now on his 10th taco and gleaming with sweat and fiery red sauce, beckoned me over. "You have to try this," he exclaimed, holding out a cup filled with dark brown liquid. "They call it coffee. Apparently, it wakes you up." Sleep was already a rare and fragile thing for a ZIL tricksy diplomat on a Death World assignment. I politely declined, trying to envision a scenario where I would willingly ingest something designed to heighten alertness. Humans, as far as I could tell, ran on some internal fusion reactor that never shut down. Patel, noticing my reluctance, patted my shoulder, plating reassuringly. "Don't worry if coffee is too intense. We can find you something else, but you should really experience human beverages while you're here. It's quite an opener in many ways." His cryptic grin returned. Over the next several rotations, we were subjected to what could only be described as relentless cultural bombardment. There was the spectacle of a sport, where humans chased a spherical object and collided violently with one another, all while spectators roared with incomprehensible enthusiasm. Then there was the cinema experience, a darkened enclosure where moving images and deafening noises were projected onto a massive screen, eliciting shouts of laughter and whimpers of terror from the surrounding humans. How do they survive this constant overstimulation? I finally gasped, clutching the armrest for dear life as cinematic images shifted to dizzying space battles. Harris merely shrugged. We're used to it, I guess. Thriving on chaos is kind of in our DNA. Beside me, TRX practically vibrated with glee. This is better than hunting a Thyan blood fiend. I shuddered involuntarily. Thyan blood fiends were apex predators on several classified worlds. The most disconcerting experience, however, was the nature park. Apparently, humans found the idea of containing wild, potentially dangerous creatures entertaining. As we strolled past an enclosure housing several large, dangerous mammals with a sign proclaiming Family Day, I was forced to question the evolutionary path that had led these humans to dominate their planet. Aren't you worried they might escape? I asked, eyeing the flimsy-looking barrier nervously. No, they're well-fed, Patel assured me, though I couldn't help but notice his grip tightened slightly on a cylindrical device at his belt. If humans were this blasé about predators capable of tearing through reinforced plast steel, I could only imagine what other horrors Earth might hold. Despite my growing conviction that I had signed up for an elaborate suicide mission, the days began to blur into a strange, exhilarating routine. TRX, fueled by tacos and Earth's endless capacity for thrills, seemed determined to cram a lifetime of excitement into our visit. I was dragged onto contraptions that twirled, flipped, and plummeted at speeds that should have reduced occupants to organic mush. Yet with each passing ordeal, something unexpected began to happen. I started to feel oddly invincible. I still flinched at loud noises and envisioned my imminent demise dozens of times a day, but a tremor of something resembling amusement began to flicker within me. One evening, as we hovered hundreds of meters above the glittering cityscape on an observation platform, TRX let out one of his booming laughs. You know, you're starting to loosen up, Zil Trixie. I felt all six of my eyes widen in shock. I beg your pardon? All those scales so tightly packed together, like a hatchling molting its first shell. I am not molting. I protested, perhaps a bit too defensively. Harris and Patel, engrossed in a human device projecting miniature images of distant places, exchanged knowing smiles. You might not be shedding skin, Harris said, but you're shedding some of that fear, that rigidity. Perhaps they were right. Perhaps Earth's peculiar brand of insanity was contagious. News of Earth's death world classification rippled through the galactic community like a shockwave. Communication channels buzzed with a volatile mixture of horror, incredulity, and morbid fascination. Delegations from established civilizations and curious explorers flocked to this blue and green anomaly, eager to witness the absurdity for themselves. Earth had become the trendiest tourist destination in the known galaxy. Initially, the influx consisted of diplomats, researchers, and a hearty few drawn by the lure of the extreme, but the tales they returned with filled with near-death experiences, bizarre culinary adventures, and the baffling resilience of humans ignited an unprecedented boom in intergalactic travel. Harris and Patel, now seasoned veterans at handling bewildered extraterrestrials, had their work cut out for them. Against all odds, I found myself volunteering to assist, drawn by a strange mix of civic duty and the perverse thrill of proving myself. I was completely unraveling. TRX, of course, thrived. He established a company specializing in Earth-level extreme tours, attracting brave or perhaps foolish souls from across the galaxy clamoring for a chance to leap down waterfalls, dodge volcanic eruptions, and sample the spiciest of Earth's delicacies, all under his boisterous guidance. The strangest twist of all was the change within me. The Zil Trixie diplomatic corps prided itself on order, predictability, and the meticulous avoidance of risk. Yet here I was, haggling with a Varian merchant over the price of a souvenir replica of a human roller coaster, my hearts racing with a rhythm that wasn't solely born of terror. One day, as I shepherded a group of wide-eyed Zonians through a bustling marketplace, a feeling washed over me, unfamiliar yet undeniable. It was exhilaration, a sense of being vibrantly, chaotically alive. Somewhere deep within my thoroughly rattled exoskeleton, a hint of understanding began to dawn. Earth was undeniably a death world, but in its unpredictable madness, it taught one how to truly live. In the grand tapestry of the cosmos, the story of Earth, the unlikely death world, became legend. It was whispered in the shadowy corners of space stations and debated in the hallowed halls of the Galactic Council. No longer merely seen as a dangerous anomaly, Earth became a symbol, a testament to the relentless adaptability of life and the strange, wondrous ways it could flourish against the odds. For me, the assignment that began as a potential disaster transformed into a journey of self-discovery. My report on Earth, submitted with trembling mandibles and a reluctantly expanded glossary of human slang, was met with both amusement and newfound respect. When I returned to the Zillion homeworld, I was a changed being, still cautious, perhaps overly so, but with a broadened perspective on the boundless possibilities of existence. As for TRX, he flourished. His intergalactic adventure company became wildly successful, and thrill-seekers from across the galaxy clamored for the chance to experience Earth's wildness under his exuberant guidance. And Earth itself? It continued to be Earth, loud, unpredictable, and brimming with chaotic energy that defied all logic. Humans, with their baffling love for danger and remarkable adaptability, continued to not only survive but thrive on their improbable death world. I still make occasional trips back, sometimes for diplomatic purposes and other times simply to indulge in the forbidden pleasure of a double taco with extra hot sauce. Standing on a crowded street corner, bathed in the neon glow of human advertisements and bombarded by a cacophony of languages, I feel an odd sense of peace. It's the peace of knowing that in this vast, bewildering universe, there will always be a place where the concept of normal is delightfully shattered, and where a cautious Ziltrian can learn to embrace a little bit of beautiful, improbable chaos.